Hello everyone, today I received my screening certificate, the審査済書, from the Japanese government to be able to apply for my workers visa for when I enter Japan. When I announced this on Twitter, I received a lot of questions, so I thought I'd make a quick video just to answer some questions because it's a very anxious time for a lot of us. So I thought if I could just clear a few things up and share my experience, then maybe that would help. First of all, I will explain the timeline in how I applied for the certification all the way up to receiving it. So originally, when the news broke that the borders would open on the 8th of November, my company and I confirmed that workers are allowed to enter, so for short-term and long-term purposes. And on the 10th of November, my company asked me to sign the written pledge to submit my vaccination certifications and to also book my flight to go to Japan. We got this done early. So this is 10th of November. My company told me to book a flight from the 19th to the 26th of December. This sounded like a realistic time. And also it would mean I could finish quarantine before the second week of January when I would start working. So I had to sign the pledge, just put the date and my name and signature on it, submit my flight information, so when I would be arriving, date and time, as well as my flight seat number. And the vaccination certificates I received from, well, in the UK we have the NHS, so I just went on the NHS app, got PDFs of the vaccine certificates and then forwarded them to my company. Then on the 16th of November, my company emailed me to say all of the documents had been submitted from the company side and my side. They had been submitted to the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, the Kousei Roudosho. After that, I just had to wait, and there was nothing else in between that, no confirmation from the ministry that they received the documents. I just waited, and then today, on the 24th of November, I woke up, my company said, here's the document, we've received it, now you can go to the embassy. Well, first you have to wait 3 business days upon receiving the screening certification, and then you can go to your local embassy. But that is the process so far. It took me 7 days. For other people, it took them 8 days, maybe 9. Some people got it as soon as 3 days. That seems to be the rough time. However, it can take up to 3 weeks. It will depend on who you're applying through. It'll depend how your company handle the documents, how smoothly they handle the documents. It might be different for different visas. My visa is a category E visa, so I'm with specialists in humanities. And this information is strictly for workers' visas. Students are in a different and very difficult situation, so this information might not be applicable, but it might help to know just how things are being processed at the moment. So I received a few questions from people. I also received a lot of questions on the video I did with Davide. Now, if you're a student or if you want to find out a little bit more in my conversation with Davide, we did do a live show, a good hour of just talking about all of the situation, and you'll find a lot of information there. If you're a student, then Davide has you covered. He's got all the information you need, so make sure you keep up to date with him. But a few questions. I'll just begin with, hello Ellis, I have my CRV since February 2021. What does this screening certificate mean? The screening certificate, from what I understand, is to see if you've been vaccinated, and it wants to know when you're going to be flying to Japan and where you're going to be staying. That's why your company has to do a katsudo keikakusho, a outline of planned activities. This is just for where you're going to be during quarantine, your address, and what you're going to be doing, so quarantining. And mainly when you arrive at the airport, when are you going to arrive? What are the arrangements? How are you getting from the airport to your quarantine facility? They just want to know all things like that. How long does obtaining the screening certificate take? If it depends on the ministry handling it, then how long does an engineer's application take? I really have no clue on what any other type of working visa would be, but from what I've seen from everyone, it's generally a week. Some people still waiting despite applying earlier. There is really no way of telling. One can assume that as time goes on and more applications come in, then the time taken to process it might take a bit longer, which is why it's important to be very urgent when communicating with your company. I'm seeing a lot of people mention that their companies want to wait to see the papers, all the documents relaxed before before they put in their application, to watch the situation, or maybe they are taking their time with it. I want to stress that this is a time for being urgent, both you and your company. You need to be as quick as possible in getting these documents in. As workers, we have been given a special opportunity, I'd say, to enter before the majority of students. It's important we take this, because if we dilly-dally, then we'll be trying to enter the same time as students, and it will slow down the whole process. It will be like a massive traffic jam. So this is the time to be urgent, and it's in your company's interest to get you to Japan as soon as possible. They want you to start as soon as possible. So it's time to really urge them to be quick and say, I need to get to the embassy ASAP. I need to be getting all of these documents processed ASAP so I can board my flight in time, so I don't have to change anything. So make sure your company's interests are aligned with yours. If they're not trying to get you into Japan as soon as possible right now, that's something to maybe look into. Intake has been increased to 5,000 people per day. Is this mathematically good for workers, since students would be given priority and they are more in number? This is good for everyone. It's good. It means more flights, which means more opportunities to book flights for an earlier time. Like I just said earlier, it's important for not creating this traffic jam, this backlog of people waiting to enter because there's no flights. So if workers get in when their chance comes, and students can then follow, hopefully it will go smooth. Should we give tentative travel dates and book flights for the screening certificate, or should we give a confirmed date? 100% a confirmed date. Do not give a tentative date, because this will likely change. And if you have to change something, it has to go for your company, it has to go for the ministry, that has to be processed, more time will be taken, and then you might miss your flight that you actually booked. Book your flight. My company made me book my flight, then I give them the details, then we can submit the application. Do it that way, it will likely work out smoother. And if something does go wrong, touch wood, we hope there's no problems, then make sure you've got a ticket which you can easily change. That has a policy where you can change the ticket in a flexible way or get a refund on it. That's why I booked directly with Japan Airlines, to avoid going through any weird travel agents who might be having some bad policies. You don't want to run that risk right now. We all want to get into Japan as soon as possible with no risk. Many of our COV end in January 2022. Should we extend it and keep it just in case the application might take longer? I think it's likely, should there be delays, again I hope there aren't, but it's likely that the COVs will be automatically extended just like they have been previously. This is a pattern we've been seeing so far. Why are some people's taking longer? Some applied last week on Tuesday and up to now haven't gotten theirs yet. It really is a mystery. All I can say is that some applications might require more paperwork than others if you're trying to get special quarantine rules, i.e. you're trying to get 10-day quarantine or maybe 3-day quarantine. 3-day quarantine looks impossible at the moment, and it doesn't look desirable at all. 10-day quarantine, I've been told, requires getting an extra PCR test during your quarantine, going to a private clinic, institution, getting that test done, but having to take private transport to get there, having to submit documents about it and let the government know. It makes the process much more complicated, which is why my company said to me, we want you to just get to Japan as quickly as possible. So we do the 14-day quarantine. We don't worry about anything extra. We minimize the amount of documents we have to send, and it just makes it easier. Think of it like this. An extra 4 days of quarantine really isn't anything if you've already done 10. You don't want to risk having a longer processing time for your screening certificate and then delaying getting your visa, then maybe even delaying your flight. That's then when problems are created. Just get this process done as quickly as possible and then do the quarantine, and then no risks at all. Did your company apply with the old pledge or the new pledge? I've been told that there's a new pledge document issued by the government. I believe I did the old pledge, just a Japanese document, 10 pages long, very long, but that all got processed. That's all gone through, and I've got my certification, and I know they're changing the rules as we go along, but all my original documents have been processed. I've got the certificate, so there shouldn't be any problems there. Did you sign on your seiyakusho, your pledge document, or just write your name? My school told me just to write a name on it. So I wanted to be really specific with this, and my company did too. We did lots of different versions of it, but I eventually got a sort of sample on how to do it properly, and this is it. So this is how my company told me to do it. You want to obviously put the date at the top, and then you write your name and surname, capital letter on the first letter of your name as per normal. Not in all capitals, the only capitals are the first letter. We just want to be specific there, and then your signature next to it. This is how I was told to do it, and this should be safe. And finally, can I know through which ministry the certificate was issued? So just to be clear again, that was the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, the Kosei Rodosho. Not sure of any other ministries processing it, but that's where I got mine from. Took about 6-7 days, can take up to 3 weeks, but I was very fortunate in this regard. And that's about it, I think. If you've got any more questions, do let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. I can't say everything. I'm just a worker trying to go through this process as well, so I don't really know everything, but I can just share my experience. Finally, I'm so happy for you. Still waiting for my screening certificate, and your news gave me hope. Hoping for the best for all of us. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the nice comments. I appreciate as well that seeing other people getting into Japan, getting all their documents and everything right now, if you don't have them, can be a very frustrating and sometimes make you feel quite angry. We're all in this together, we've all suffered together, and I just want to say I hope all of you get your documents as soon as possible, get into Japan as soon as possible, so we can see the end of this rather challenging era in our lives. But yeah, I'm going to go get my visa hopefully next week. Fingers crossed it all goes well. After last year, I'm not taking any chances, not getting excited, but I just thought I'd make a video to clear a few things up. Before I finish, if I get to Japan, then I would like to make some vlogs about living in Japan, working in Japan as a salaryman, as a shakaijin. If you're interested in seeing some of that, then do consider hitting the subscribe button. It'd be great to have you along for the journey. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope this has helped, and have a lovely day. Catch you later.